Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
So we will not be bullied by aggressive, irrational factions. We will not be railroaded by those whose only vocation in life is to be anti-establishment and by those who try to degrade the club.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast. My name is Desi and Monty, and I am glad to say so far I have been joined by two of the regular crew. Our resident tactician and man in the suburbs, Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
Evening, guys.
I was going to say nice to see you've calmed down a little, Hector, but we'll come to that. We'll come to that a little bit.
Always calm, Desi. Always calm.
And the pilot of Italia Carrier, man from Stoke, Ralph Malf. Good evening, Ralph.
How you doing? You okay?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm coughing there. And the reason I'm coughing is I caught myself in the throat because I just remembered when I said the pilot of Italia Carrier, I sent Ralph the transcript from my last podcast, and AI does not seem to like the word Tarrier for some reason. So we do not know if iTunes transcripts got an auto block on anything Fenian. So we'll start to establish that. We do hope. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for listening, as always. Please keep your comments, likes, suggestions coming in. We'll have a few suggestions for an outro song towards the end, and I'm sure you all understand why they've been nominated when we get to them. Monty C. Burns does hope to join us very soon. He's just in transit from one of his sun-kissed locations. So hopefully he'll be on very soon because, as many of you know, today was the Celtic AGM. So, Hector, I'm going to give you a choice. I know you like to have a choice on a Friday night. Do you want to start with the good news or do you want to start with the bad news tonight?
Well, Desi, it's Friday night. It's the start of the weekend, right? Let's start on a positive. Let's go for the good news.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's take. So normally we would go back to this previous Celtic games in between podcasts. We'll not really get any of that to contend with because it was the dreaded international window, Ralph. But shockeroonie, I've got a question for you, Ralph. International football better than domestic football? Discuss.
Of course, Scotland are going to go to the World Cup. Ireland are into the playoffs. There are 48 teams in the final. If we hadn't have made it there, we should have just quit and called it a day. All right, it was a great performance. Kasper Schmeichel carried his club form into the international arena. Kenny McLean has now got the same amount of caps as Billy Bremner and Graham Souness, and I think that kind of sums up international football.
Speaking of caps, that's a very good point. And actually, at one point, Hector, you made the joke. You made a joke. You and I were both staring at the screen, I think, in the same disbelief during the Scotland-Greece game. Scotland 3 goals down, needing to take up the park. Steve Clark calls for Tony Ralston. And I think Tony Ralston's got something like 28 caps. They aren't to Tony Ralston. But when you think of like the great Celtic players who
is that not the same as Jimmy Johnstone? 28.
I think you'd be lucky if Jimmy Johnstone.
But there's two big things here, right?
Yeah.
So the first one was we had a far bigger quality of player pool in the 60s and 70s. We had world-class players everywhere, every position. You actually probably picked 3 squads. And the second, probably more important one, is we didn't play a lot of internationals compared to now. See, nowadays, this is the smallest group I think we've had in God knows how long. So you've got the Nations Cup, haven't you? You've got the World Cup qualifiers, European, fucking friendly after friendly. So I bet you they probably play twice as many internationals, if not more, per year than what they used to back in, say, the 60s or the 50s.
And the select committee was a little bit reserved, let's say, in their scope.
Oh, easily, aye. Easily.
Yeah, but again, this was also part of it. I can't remember the exact argument, but somebody was comparing is Harry Kane the greatest international striker of all time the other day. But exactly as you say, Hector, they happen to Harry Kane. World-class
good player,
striker,
very good player, aye.
It was a joy to watch him. I mean, a great player. But as you say, he plays maybe 4 internationals a year. You're lucky if he plays against one top 10 club a year, no international wise. So is this the goals are trying to be scored? I'm not taking anything away from him. So that it's a great imbalance from what it used to be. But I just thought that made the laugh. Because the fact that you tweeted, on you go, Clarty, we're needing a goal, get Ralph's known.
And you can't help yourself. But see, on your question to Ralph, so your club's your bread and butter, and that's for season tickets. It's all of us, we're Celtic, but you ask anybody else, your club's your bread and butter. But the club's not competing with the country, right? You can want both to do well. So normally it's club. I just think it's been so crap for a few weeks now, which we're going to come to, I think, that it was quite uplifting. Number one, the Ireland 96 minute, and the boy Parrott scoring that goal was just amazing, wasn't it?
Apologies, but you have to rewind a wee bit before that, because you had Ronaldo getting
Portugal.
Remember you had that whole Ronaldo getting in Scales' pocket or that sort of crop.
And Scales laid on. He headed across for the first goal against Portugal, and also Scales was the header for Parrott for the 96 minute winner. So I think for Ireland, everybody, let's be honest, even all the Irish fans will say there's no chance. But the way they did it away to Hungary was just incredible. And the scenes, man, that's where football is just something. See the scenes of you watch them all going mental. He's getting top off, sprint to the halfway line. The keeper's fucking gone bananas. Fans, the bench is emptied. And then they're now in the playoffs, which nobody thought they had a chance of doing. Now they've got a chance. So that's next March, isn't it? So that was brilliant. Yep. And then you thought nothing will beat that. Then Scotland, as you say, Desi, here, hold my beer. And Scotland, as we all know, because we're old enough and we're ugly enough, we've got the scars and the experience. We just thought, what's going to happen? We'd probably finish 2 each.
No, but again, rewind the tape. So again, this is
Greece, right? Okay, go to Greece.
No, the whole fact, like Ralph, the whole Greece, because I can imagine Ralph especially, my fellow curmudgeon within Tim's, watching that Greece game, and let's be honest, that Greece 17-year-old was having the game of his life, just strolling about, doing whatever. Greece are 3-0 up. Everybody's resigned to all we needed was a draw, and suddenly Ryan Christie finds his way. As long as it doesn't shoot, Ryan Christie, we now know can head towards the goal. And suddenly it's 3-2, and it's, here we go. Can we hold on? We can't hold on, Ralph. Typical Scotland, we can't get the draw we need. But fucking Belarus, they get beat 6-0 at home, or they're equivalent at home against Denmark. And then Denmark clearly were smoking cigars, thinking this is a fucking walk in the park. And at one point, we're getting beat 2-1 with Belarus. That was unbelievable, Ralph.
I was up at my ma's birthday party over in Dunoon on Saturday, and the plan was to do the party in the afternoon and go and watch a game in the evening.
Oh, you're 78. Your mum must be some fucking age if you're 78.
And so we're kind of watching a game. It's 3-0, and then it was a kind of, well, that's that then. And then all of a sudden it got to 3-2 and it came over that Denmark had drawn. And you think, okay, here we go again. And I really expected nothing each with Denmark. Nothing each. And I come in, I was back down here. I come into the house, I put on the game, and Scott McTominay scored a goal. And honestly, my reaction, I didn't cheer. I just sat here and I went, fuck me. And I thought, we've a chance here.
We'll score too early.
That was almost every Twitter post. We have scored 92 minutes too early.
And then you think to yourself, right, come on, these are. If you watched it, they weren't very good. Their passes were going astray. They looked a wee bit rattled. And I thought, right, come on, bury this game, get it done. 18 minutes before we had another shot. Mm-hmm. And of course, in that time, there was a kind of controversial penalty. And then Scotland.
But see, just on your point there, right? And it was interesting. Going back to the Greece game where first 40 minutes, they could and should have been 4-0 up. And of all people, Craig Father Time Gordon, to be fair to them, apart from the third goal in the second half, but see the first half, they could have been. But then, weirdly enough, the last 5 minutes before half time, Scotland had 3 fucking sitters. And then the second half, another 3 sitters. So I actually thought a draw was probably fair, but the point was, you're right, Ralph, that the game, McTominay #1, that's one of the best international Scotland goals I've ever seen, considering the context of the game and the goal. I mean, his feet must have been, what, 6-7 foot in the air?
I think
He measured it
I
8'1" or something.
8'2" measured that.
That's just fucking unbelievable. So you're going like that, you're right. But this is where the Steve Clark thing is, right? I'm with you totally. 1-0, crowd's buzzing, here we go. Choices are sit back and defend when inevitably, guess what's going to happen? They'll score. Or here's a wee thought. Look at the crowd, 48,000, a couple of thousand Danes behind you. The place has gone nuts. We're 1-0 up. Here's a thought. Why not try and get the second goal? While they're down, while they're deflated. But no, he can't help himself. It's like every cunt, edge of the box, get back. And then when Denmark make it 1 each, he thinks, let's attack again. And we can attack, as we proved in Greece. When it's always when the back's against the wall with Clark, isn't it? He says to them, off the leash, and they're actually not too bad. But see, when he just thinks their jaw's enough, he can't help himself.
If you go back to the last Euros, was it Hungary we're playing? And of course, it's all gone bad. And then for 10 minutes, we battered them. And you just sit there. Do you remember when Postecoglou used to say, right, I need to tell the players to play this way. If I change it, it means they won't have faith in the original system. Now, if you think about the Scotland players, when they attack people, you know, we get somewhere. We get goals, we get a result. When they do what he tells them to do, nothing happens.
No, he does tell them that, Rich. To be fair, he does. He does tell them, but it's he can't help his cautious nature. That's why he's so good at Kilmarnock. There's no pressure on him. It was about you know, if you don't get beats, a good result. So he had no issue with that. He's a terrific coach. He'd be a brilliant defensive coach in a team, right? With an attacking manager. But you just say to yourself, you've got a squad. You've got about 8-9 players who play in EPL regular or Serie A regular. These aren't the guys, you know, no offence, playing for lower league Scottish teams. There's quality, and yet I just hope, you know, we know he won't. We know the answer to this. But you've got there. See, when you get there, go on and
give it a
just
shot.
Fucking sit back.
Yeah.
Go on and have a go.
Give it a shot.
Right. We'll come at that in a wee second, because I think that's a really good talking point. I don't know if it's too early, but we'll come back to that in a second, because it's something that's been on my mind a lot. But let's just think of praise of Steve Clark, because it really does need praise. Because I've my notes here, right? We've got McTominay channeling Pelé from Escape to Victory, right? Shankland doing what strikers do, actually having a striker who can just know immediately a ball's coming in, let point it towards a goal. You know what I mean? And then we've got Clark's super subs. Why bring on Ralston like he did against Greece? When you think in Greece it brought Ralston to play with. Why bring on Ralston at right back when Tierney can play right back and be able to curl a shot in? I mean, that was Steve Clark made that goal happen. I mean, you have to give due credit where it's due. He made that happen by putting Tierney at right back and telling them wait for the ball coming at the box. But there was
a weird game, because with 3 left backs on the park, Robertson, Hickey, and Tierney.
Oh, Hickey's a right back, you know.
There was another left back at Hearts.
They don't replace Hickey. Well, again, you can say full backs, but that was Clark did make that goal. Clark made that goal, and then you had Kenny McLean, another old father time, scoring that goal. And Schmeichel, because literally 20 seconds before that, Schmeichel had sent a cross into the box, put this inside the Scotland Scotland half. So you could understand why he was so far out of part, and there wasn't any.
Did he get a goal? Didn't he?
You can't blame them.
But see the thing we were talking about, right, about the Ireland and Parrott scored 96 minutes, and just through our game, and obviously we went 1 each, then Shankland, Yardouk, all good strikers, penalty box area, 6-yard box, bang. Then we sit back 2-1 up against 10 men. Every cunt back, right? And you're like, no! And we seen it coming. We knew it was going to happen. Don't, Steve, fucking some cunt looked Clark a cupboard. And nobody did, right? But they scored. And then us at that point, we're all going, everyone else is going, there you go. Told you so. There you go. 10 fucking men, 2-1 up, fucking Scotland. We're all saying the same thing, right? I think the same thing. But then this is where for us, and it was, well, we're old enough to remember when Scotland actually used to get to World Cups, being the old fucking Celtic dads and granddads. But for probably 2 generations that they've all they see is failure and no getting there. And the guys like us fucking just laying it on, right? It's like listening to people like us. But then your point, Desi, the ball which Kate broke to Tierney through a sclaffed shite clearance by the Danish guy, which doesn't usually happen. And he runs up, hits it. And see when it went in the net, genuinely, I did jump. Right? I must admit, I fucking did. In the moment, and it was Tierney as well. You know, he's going through a hard time and everything. And I felt brilliant for him. Fucking here we go. Yes, and then you're waiting for VAR. Fucking, you're waiting for something in VAR. VAR's going to fucking somebody's fucking pinky nail fucking touch somebody or something. Right?
Shanklin's shadow was there, Schmeichel's face.
Then you're going, no, it was a Danish player. It was no Danish interference of play. And then there's the thing, you're going 3-2 up. Steve, don't give the cunt back the 6 yard. I've got 10 men. But for once, no, the Danes were pummeling. But for once, see the 4th goal we got. We didn't. 2 guys pressed the ball up towards almost the centre circle, and that's when they won it. So he actually, believe it or not, they did change it a wee bit. And then Kenny McLean, for all we laugh, and I'm glad for him as well. A guy like him who turns up very early, I know you said, but he's always a sub in here, gets 10 minutes. And to score a goal like that was just... We've actually seen 3 of the greatest Scotland goals ever in one game, which was amazing.
Yeah. McTominay's wasn't bad either.
He was one of the 3, right. I know.
You raised the point there, actually. Talking about Kenny McLean, and it's guys like that that always turn up, they're always training. They might get 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They might start if somebody else isn't ready. And there's a guy called Harvey something that plays for England that now wants to play for Scotland. Yeah, and that also raises a question. If Callum McGregor comes out of retirement, would you accept it?
I would take him in before Callum McGregor.
You know, vastly experienced player.
Of course you would. But Callum, I don't think he wouldn't put his hand to do it. We do a wee chat about it this week. I think the World Cup squads are slightly bigger than the qualification squads because they're away at a tournament. They're playing at least 3 games. So I think rather than maybe a squad of 24, it might be slightly bigger than that for World Cup.
I think you might get 26 at the most, but I think the Scotsman did an early potential squad thing, and they basically went down the Steve Clarke mindset of these guys have got us here. The exact same party came out with for the Euros, and fair play, got us to 2 Euros. But this is where I start to kind of question it. Well, I don't think Craig Gordon should go to the World Cup. I don't think Kenny McLean should go to the World Cup. I don't care how much they've contributed. Thanks very much, guys. You've got us here. But life goes on. We have to move. So, see if a Harvey Barnes a guy that scored 50 goals in the EPL, could join Scotland. You've got to consider it. You've got to sit and go, we've only got one winger and he got injured. You know what I mean?
Do you know if you go to your work, Stu, do you kind of find yourself sitting by yourself a lot? When everybody else is...
That's why I've been self-employed for so long. I find it's a lot easier. I mean, I work out, you know what I mean?
But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that always happens every tournament, World Cup, European Championships, for every nation. There's always 2 or 3 players that unfortunately get injured for every country, maybe a month or 2 before it. And I think that's where the conversation changes. So, for example, Callum McGregor was mentioned, right? So he won't go to Clark. I want to go. It's not his name. It's not him, right? He's quite a humble guy like the rest of the squad. But if 2 of the mids are injured, and then it's like, well, then that's fine. I think if Clark says to Callum McGregor, look, you know the squad inside out. We'd love to get you in because these 2 guys, they're not available. That's a different conversation. But I think the attacking thing's different. See keepers, centre halves, strikers, wingers. If anybody's got any fucking chance to play for Scotland, and I'd be looking to bring them in because we need quality.
That's quality. Yeah. Like your Lyndon Dykes, thanks very much, mate. You've been a great servant. I think he's up at like 50 caps. I know. A journeyman, a Livingston level player, and I don't even know if he's getting a game. I think he's like a sub for maybe Birmingham or somebody else now. So there's lots of players who are struggling for game time, and I think Clark has to be brutal, but I don't think he will be. if you know what I mean. But he's earned the right to consider whoever he likes. Getting his L is enough. But an interesting point I wanted to make about that the other night was the acclaim, the kind of worldwide acclaim for a real football game. I mean, like Danny Baker, everybody was going mental.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm no Scottish, but this game is unbelievable. And it wasn't just at Scotland. It had everything. It had a red card. It had a penalty. It had a goal for the halfway line. It had an overhead kick. Not why people were just stunned by the actual watching the football in view, because football's got quite boring these days. I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was great, wasn't it? It was great. See the fans. Sorry, Ralph. I was going to say the other thing was the fans' reaction, right? And it was, we're all a bit cynical and everything else. And life moves on, and football, this bollocks. Football is about the fans, which are going to accompany in a wee bit, I suspect, right? But to see a nation where you see in the videos different pubs and clubs around the country, and they're all shouting, fucking screaming at the telly. Then
fuck.
Aye. And that's, but I don't know about you, right? But my house, it was the same, right? Fucking clear it. You baldy cunt ref. Fucking listen, you wee cunt. Screaming at him, you wee cheating bastard. And I'm glad I wasn't recorded, right? You can just imagine, right? But here's the thing, when you seen the video footage for pubs and bars around the country and Hussies, it was actually brilliant to see.
Yep.
It was brilliant to see, wasn't it?
And worldwide,
It was
I know. Again, it was worldwide, if you know what I mean. It wasn't even just like, Celtic have won a game. It was, you say, like the Bobby Bluebell showing that pub, the Yard pub or whatever, and he's up the top. And I think Bad's had a big thing, I know, and just all the coverage was just amazing. And then you start to go to the personal touch in people's living rooms, and it's a whole family. And the wee boy and the wee lassie watching the game. No, that way.
We boy at 12. We boy at 12 calling
He's there like, fuck you, ref. There's one, the wee boy saying, fuck you, ref.
Yeah, if you think about it, there's nobody under the age of 30 that's actually seen us at a World Cup finals. That's the kind of bit that gets me, because I remember as a boy watching the 74, the 78, the 82, 86, all the way through, and then it kind of stopped, 27 years ago?
So what was
and you kind of lose interest in it.
Was Argentina
78?
Again, remember all the streaming, all the paper streaming, that's the one thing. And I remember being out the back, or out the front, our races were back to front, a wee bit into the ground. And out playing with a ball in the Holland game, and walking in, and Alan Ruff just watching the ball fly by him. And you're like, that was my first experience of Scottish disappointment. I should get used to it. And then years later, I remember, like, I was working in the uni, and it was suddenly, oh fuck, the game's on today, and having to like take an emergency half day and get home for just getting in time for the John Collins wink, that sort of idea, the wee getting down the line and stuff. And that was, but I remember my pals going out to France and stuff, and then you don't realise that was 28 years ago.
Well, I went to Italy, Desi. I went to the 1990 World Cup, right? There was 6 years went. We grew up in Queensland, up the East End, and there was just, we grew up like others wents. We're pretty much the same age. 3 Celtic fans, 3 Rangers fans, we're all thick as thieves together. And we went all there, and it was the chance to go away. Good old Harry Hines travel, tickets for the 3 games, Costa Rica, which we'll not talk about, then Sweden, which we could talk about, then the last game against Brazil in Turin. But all I would say is I'm very young at the time, but it was a magic experience. Celtic's obviously first love, and nothing will beat that. But to go with your mates for a couple of weeks holiday, travel a country, fans from all different nations there, and it was a magic experience. So I would hopefully Ireland get there as well, and hopefully Wales. But I would just say, if anybody's got a chance to go, I would highly recommend it, because it's some experience. Just to be part of it. Just some experience.
It has to be a bucket list, and I'm getting older now, and it's going to have to be this one somehow.
You sound like Craig Gordon. That was what I had interviewed the other night. This might be my last chance. I said he'll be the first World Cup player to be wheeled onto the plane via that platform lift. They have for the pensioners at the side of the plane. That'll be Craig Gordon. But yeah, so that was amazing. I did have so before I go on to Stelts and international break, Hector, one quick word for you, but so will this be an excuse for you to visit the grandchildren then next year.
Well,
An unexpected trip.
I couldn't possibly comment because I found out recently that both of my sons listen to this podcast, you see.
Oh, sorry,
Desi.
son. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the one in
Oh, young
America,
bandidos.
the one in America and the one here, they listen to the podcast, and anything I say on this podcast can and will be used against me in court. So if we had an opportunity, I'd love to go, right? But one thing about that, it's no cheap, right? So Glasgow seems to get a lot of new flights for Glasgow Airport to America and Canada now, doesn't it? So I expect that to extend next year.
WestJet or something to start.
WestJet and Air Transat, and there's still Air Canada as well. So there's talk that there's three sections in the States, Canada and Mexico. They're split into kind of West, Central and East, and they're hoping that Scotland might be the East, which we can have Boston, Philly, New York, or even Toronto.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
It's going to be Canada. It's going to be Canada, I think.
Toronto would be amazing
because of the heritage and all that, and the Scots presence. There's not really a big Scots presence.
You're not going to care less about Scotland. Let's be honest. We're ranked so low, and they're only really.
No, but Des, you've seen Toronto. I've seen Toronto. I've been to Toronto twice in the last, I'd say, about 8 years, and I was amazed when I got there how fucking Scottish and Irish Toronto is.
I'm talking about the World Cup. You're not going to care.
All right.
Fantinos or whatever.
You need to think about the local economy and the money and that. I think they'll put us somewhere where there's a lot of Scots descendants. Because we'll be seeded, obviously, won't we? Top seeds.
No, but Ireland and Italy, they played New York. I mean, so that was for a reason, right? You're not saying that was just a luck. They went Ireland and Italy, fucking New York, full of Irish. That's
but as Ralph said, there's a lot of teams new. There's a lot of teams going. But even like, seeing you look at the groups, I'm not going to hand. My apologies, I should have had it printed out. But you talk about like, New York, Boston, say Philadelphia or something, fine. But then they fling in a random Houston, and you're like, Houston's nowhere fucking near New York. And the size of America, I mean, like the scale. And then it'll be like a random Toronto, or no, Vancouver, Seattle. You're like, okay, I can see that. Los Angeles, and you're kind of going, you're working your way right down the coast there. The distance is phenomenal. It's not like this pocket.
But what they've done, they're trying to keep the time zones for you. I know you're right what you're saying.
From a distance and logistics, you're going to have loads. You're going to have the classic. Gregory's girl, two Scottish guys stonning thumbing their way to Caracas. You know what I mean? That's what's funny.
They've qualified, haven't they? Oh no, it's Curacao or something.
Curacao is the smallest nation.
Curacao.
You know what's going to happen, didn't you?
300,000.
Scotland, we're talking about Toronto and the rest of it. What's going to happen? Scotland's luck. We'll be the only country that has to go to Canada, America, and Mexico in the same fucking group. Won't we? Imagine us trying to get through passport control at fucking 3 countries all there. Can you imagine?
The joys. Right. So I did make a wee note. Right. So sadly, Monty's not got to join us because I would like to have we never really got to hear his thoughts on the WhatsApp on Sunday when Parrott got that winner, which would have been nice to hear. But again, I've just made a wee note of some Celts, ex-Celts involved over at the national window. Scales, Kenny, and I think, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think I spotted Mikey Johnson in the Ireland squad with a kind of training gear on. I don't think he came on, but I think he was part of the celebrations. Apologies if I'm wrong, folks. So that was good to see in Hungary. Scotland-wise, Scott Bain, the only keeper actually getting a game these days in Scotland, it seems. So who knew Scott Bain would be a likely contender for the World Cup this time last year?
I'm astonished. He'll probably end up being first choice by then, because Angus Gunn will never be a goalkeeper in his life. Obviously, Craig Gordon's getting on a wee bit, and the other end, is it Liam Kelly?
Liam Kelly. I think there's a few ex-Rangers. As I said to you, Commander Guy in my work said they've been pursuing Craig Gordon because of their goalkeeping disasters at the moment. Commander, they've currently got Celtic boy on loan who looked scared as anything recently. They are looking to try and get Craig Gordon in for the next 6 months. So that would be an ideal move for the both of them, to be honest. So that would be interesting to see if that happens. Tony Ralston, when you need a goal in Greece. Ryan Christie, keeping the ball within goal height. Tierney scoring, which was great, versus Casper Schmeichel. I know Ralph likes to go to Casper, but I don't really think you could fault him for that. And then an honourable mention.
No, that was a great goal. That was a great goal.
Honourable mention to Andy Robertson and John McGinn. My brother, speak to my brother yesterday, and he was highlighting they liked the sight of Andy Robertson and Kenny McLean going for a roll and sausage the morning after the game. You said we were walking down for the Blythewood Hotel, and the Sky Sports guys, oh, how are you doing, guys? Are you still in cloud nine? Blah 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 blah. Where are you off to? He's off to, like whatever it was. And they went, we're just going for a roll, mate. And the kind of the reporter pauses and says, sorry, what?
A roll?
We're just going for a roll. You know what I mean?
A fucking roll.
That's it. So they were going for it. Right. So then also I checked Austin Trusty beating our old friend Bielsa's Uruguay. Dies in 82 minutes playing left wing back in a 3-0 win versus Bolivia. And I was smiling this morning. I didn't see it reported anywhere. But can you guess the name of the ref in the Japan versus Bolivia game?
Oh,
Fu Ming.
Well, there's the tricky question.
So Fu Ming, absolutely Fu Ming. Probably the biggest surprise of the window after Scotland and Ireland. Balak Wisha scoring the winning penalty, scoring the final penalty for Congo against Nigeria. Shockeroonie. And then Pinecki, he got injured and sadly missed the chance to play against Brazil. I'm sure they enjoyed that. And then with a few potential injuries, Colby Donovan appears to be all right now, thankfully. Sinasalu was an unused sub. And then the big news, at Sinasalu's game, former Timo Pukki officially resigned from international football. Timo Pukki, 42 goals in 132 international games. The record goal scorer for Finland. That's quite impressive when you think about it.
And yet he was shite with Celtics. It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
He's done well when he moved to Celtic.
Horses for courses.
But he was shite.
He done well.
Some players just can't sell.
But I don't know. A few times. As Monty likes to say, there's a player in there somewhere. Sometimes it just takes a while, or a certain style, or a certain manager to work out how it works.
I think it's pressure, Desi. I think people look at the Scottish League, and you come to us, or dare I say it, go to Rangers, but the pressure is a draw is a disaster. You've got to win every game, and I think just coping with that, it must be for a lot of players just like, what the fuck's this? You know?
Mm-hmm. That's a fair point.
At this point, can I mention a book I've been reading this week? Because it covers all that. With managers talking about players and doing all that. It's called Will You Manage? The Necessary Skills to Be a Great Gaffer. It's by a guy called Musa Akwanga. And one of the reasons I started reading it is he's got a great reverence for Jock Stein, for Bill Shankly and Matt Busby. So it goes into a lot about how managers pick up players from, the analytics and all that kind of thing. And he speaks very highly of Sam Allardyce, which I nearly put the book down when he said that. But he talks about a player called Ivan Campo that used to play for Real Madrid.
And he also went to Bolton under Allardyce.
That's right. And he went to Bolton and he turned him into a central midfielder. And when Campo retired, he couldn't praise Allardyce enough for seeing what he'd done, probably using analytics or whatever, and seeing the game that he actually played usually, and kind of moving it into the position that made him a better player.
Yeah.
Which we don't see enough of now. It's kind of strange. And whoever we get as a manager next, no doubt we'll come to that. I would prefer a manager that kind of takes a player and says, well, look, all right, you're pretty good at left back, but do you know what? If you move a bit further forward, we can get more out of you. Sorry, that wasn't a plug, by the way. It was something I found interesting.
No, mate. So two aspects, and because back then I used to work with a guy who was a big Bolton fan, and he used to run a minibus for the old work. We used to go and watch Allardyce's Bolton day trip down to Bolton, right? So I used to see quite a bit of them. But interesting you said that there, because Roberto Martinez, when he took Sean Maloney to Wigan, basically said to the rest of the Wigan team, this guy is who we build the team around. But this guy can all be part of the day-to-day activities. He'll train himself, he'll train away. Nobody tackles him. He gets wrapped in bubble wrap. It basically, everything was built around Sean Maloney because he was the game changer. And thing with it, your job on the pitch is to get the ball to Maloney and protect him on the pitch. Same Jimmy Johnson idea. Sean Maloney wins him the FA Cup. And that was Martinez and Maloney basically worked out how to get the best out of Sean Maloney and protect him because he was that fragile. I mean, but just you're saying, Ralph, a manager who can see the vision and work out how to get there.
That's interesting you said that, because if you look at Maloney in the press conference with Martin O'Neill, he looked like a rabbit in the headlights. Now, I don't know where Martinez is just now, or if he's got a contract to play out, but that
Portugal
might
manager.
be...
He's the Portugal manager, Martinez.
Is he?
Martinez. Martinez, the Portugal manager. He went from Belgium to Portugal.
So he's in the World Cup then?
Yes.
Yeah.
They only won 9-1 last week. They were actually getting beat. They were drawn one each at one point and then won 9-1 in their final qualifier.
All right.
No, they're doing all right. So Craig, you touched on it earlier, Hector. Craig Bellamy's Wales won 7-1 against North Macedonia. North Macedonia are in the playoffs in order.
They've been playing brilliant attacking football, and he's getting some reviews, and I didn't quite appreciate how good they've been. So because of that, I've kept an eye on them, because we're linked with Celtic and reading a lot about them. But they've not got a squad full of what you would call as real top quality European players. A lot of guys that play in the lower English championships, obviously some in the EPL, but he's made them into a really good attacking team. But if Wales get there, he's going to go there. But because the qualifiers not until it's March, isn't it? The qualifiers.
Yeah, March. Yeah, they're playing Bosnia.
So there's no chance of him, even though he's linked with Celtic, leaving Wales before that. And I think he had that at his press conference. It's a really good press conference. I watched parts of it. He was really open about it. Loved his time at Celtic. He goes, but Wales is his country, his dream, chance of World Cup. He could never walk out in them. So you actually respect that more when somebody says that. But I think Martinez had a link with Maloney. That's an obvious link. But he's taking Portugal to the World Cup. So we're going to come to the manager, dare I say, in a minute or two. But it's probably interesting that we've got Martin O'Neill back by Sean Maloney. The choice we thought was, would they remain interim manager for a period of time, either through till now, to allow a new guy to come in for January, or to the end of the season, which would make you think there's somebody that's going to the World Cup that's been lined up for the summer. So,
right. So we'll come to that in one wee second. This one wee final shout out for Connor Hazard, who's in the Northern Ireland squad. Cup hero. Connor Hazard was in the Northern Ireland squad, and they now face Rino Gattuso's Italy. So strange for me to say best of luck to Northern Ireland, but if you can beat Rino Gattuso's Italy, that would make me smile, because I hate that wee shite. So that would be nice.
Just to finish off on the international thing, I think I asked a question in the WhatsApp group. Who was the last Celtic player that was playing for Celtic to score against another Celtic player in an international match? Did you get the answer?
Is that an answer?
No, it did happen. No, it happened.
I don't know. I said to you, Griffiths against Hart, but he wasn't a Celtic keeper at the time. What was the answer?
No, it was Jakinowski against Alan McKnight. Do you remember him?
Yep. Another cup hero.
Yeah. It must have been 100 years ago, but that was the only one that MD could find.
There you go.
Because obviously Cadet played for Sporting Lisbon and that when he scored against Scotland. And like you say, Craig Gordon must have played against others, but no.
There we go. There you go. A wee bit of trivia there, folks. So we've managed to spend 30 minutes talking about international football, which we thought we were going to spend 10 minutes on, because clearly we had other items on the agenda. So I had international football greater than domestic football discussed. And then I had the words anything else on my agenda. And then the phrase, Hector, still no fucking manager.
Yes.
I mean, so you just touched, so just quickly to reiterate what you just touched on there, we wondered, will we have a manager before the international break? Then it was, will we have a manager by the end of international break? Now it's, will we have a manager before the January window? And then the next topic, will we have a manager before the World Cup? while we were manager after the World Cup. So we're in limbo. We're still in limbo, Hector. No
And the
idea.
club, the club who, you know, Celtic, who love to communicate with their supporters, put out, was it possibly the worst holding comment a few days ago about the manager search, and basically saying that Martin O'Neill and Sean Moloney would continue as interim positions for the meantime. And that was kind of as bland a statement.
You say it best when you say nothing at all. I believe Ronan's line is.
Rather than say we've narrowed it down to perhaps a handful of candidates and we're having second interviews and we hope to announce something within the next 7 to 10 days, which is real information. Instead, it was nothing, wasn't it? Which kind of sums them up, really, doesn't it? The people running the club, really. Which we'll come to no doubt a wee bit later on.
Yeah. But again, right, so Ralph, you do the diary and Monty's not on. Hopefully he can join us at some point. And again, apologies, listeners. You have been down there. Hopefully Monty can join us.
Is he still in that room
point.
with that Ross Desmond?
It may be. That was my first question for Monty. How is he getting on with that head of business relations, or whatever that job was he was meant to be going for at Celtic Park? But Ralph, we're just talking about lack of manager and the fact that there doesn't appear to be any firm milestones that the club are trying to reach at this point. Ralph, do you think from a diary / gossip column / latest current news, do you think, no, I don't mean that rude, I just mean as in the latest.
No, I know what you mean.
It appears to be a lot of this people clutching at straws in the media, do you think, Ralph? Because there doesn't appear any like concrete, incremental progress. Columbus Crew.
The only bit of kind of concrete stuff we got was actually the wee story we heard about Robbie Keane. It's the only one that seems to have any substance. Now, I think, is it Ferencvaros? Yeah. When do the group stages finish? Maybe January? And then just after...
the European...
the group stage
the club one.
Europa
League. End of January. No, Europa League.
Right.
End of January, isn't it?
Right. Now, I don't know if there's a relationship between Martin O'Neill and Robbie Keane. I'm not a Robbie Keane fan. If you look at the way that Dermot Desmond kind of shot down Brendan Rodgers, with that statement, and then we'll obviously come to today's things a wee bit later on, I have a feeling that Robbie Keane is in the frame. And I mean really in the frame. So much so that I put money on it. So if you get to a stage where you think this board could not possibly piss us off anymore, and then they do something else, and I think we're going to get Robbie Keane. I really do.
Right. Well, I'm glad
as a manager, he's done all right. As a person, oh Jesus, suffering fuck. But I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm glad to say, folks, that we have actually been joined by Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty. Can you hear me?
Good evening, lads. Can you hear me okay?
So we've been talking international football, Monty, and now we're on to the manager, because we're basically waiting for you to go for the whole corporate Monty C. corporate action for the AGM. Let's stick with the manager aspect for now, Monty. Robbie Keane, you broke the story in the best Jim White style. You broke the story that Robbie Keane may be quite high up in the contention stakes.
High up. You'd due me a lot of money if he doesn't get the job.
As in the job's yours, Robbie, if you want it.
That's exactly how it was relayed, seemingly at a meeting between he of the moustache and narcissistic sons and Keane himself. Seemingly the job says if he wants it. And again, I was going to say, Desi,
as soon as Ralph got that £2, it went from 33 into the tens within 5 minutes.
But I'll tell you, all joking aside, he's that contrary, Desmond, that it wouldn't surprise you. And I came in on the tail end, sorry I was late, I came in on the tail end of Ralph pointing out just how horrifically poor a character Robbie Keane actually is when it comes to his life choices.
Monty, what we
could-
were saying, what we were saying just before you come in, we were talking international, just killing time to you go here, right? We really fucking killed time with that one, didn't we? But then we moved on to the manager the last few minutes. But what we're just saying is Celtic as a club, we're possibly one of the worst communicators to their supporter base of any professional football club, right? Or certainly high up there. So we're just saying one of the things they did put out was a statement a few days ago regarding the manager search.
Yeah.
And it was the most bland, pathetic, waste of time statement, but it basically said Martin O'Neill and Sean Mullen continues interim managers as the search manager continues. Whereas a proper update would be, we're now 3 weeks on, we've had some interviews with potential candidates. There's an update for supporters. We've narrowed down our search to a smaller group of candidates. We're having second interviews, and we hope to announce the new manager next week to 10 days. There's a proper statement for you, right? And it's just this nothingness, isn't it? This complete fucking nothingness that they present to us as news. And it made me think, after today's events, which, in your point about Desmond, it wouldn't surprise me now as after today's events if they went, fuck them. And
They'll
just
double
did
down.
something really to annoy us, to fucking annoy us now.
We must be quadrupling down by now. We're so far through the double down window. You know what I mean?
I think actually it all stacks up, and it's not often when Rui Miller used to turn up and help us now and again with the rumor mill, every now and again he got one right. But on this one, everything stacks up.
Sorry. When you say every now and again one stacks up, there's a well-respected website that reviewed our last podcast and said it was we usually get things right. And I thought, I've been doing the diary for 15 years. I don't even get the date right most of the time. Jesus. Sorry.
I'll tell you why it stacks up. I'll tell you why all of the hullabaloo up until Nancy seemingly jumping on a plane and coming to London and then it went dead stacks up. It'll be because Desmond wasn't convinced. Remember we had the whole Hiddink thing. It's ironic. It's Hiddink versus Martin O'Neill and how the wheels gone full circle again. I have a funny feeling that that's what's played out. He's met him and went, nah, I'm not sure. And ultimately, the dysfunction of Celtic is born out of the fact that a guy who owns 30% of the shareholding effectively dictates the entire direction and pulse of the football club. It's fucking staggering. And now you're starting to see it in real terms. It's not that he is micromanaging Celtic. Everybody that works for him in a senior job is essentially just a messenger. That's all they are. These are boys carrying messages on behalf of a billionaire. And today, and I know we'll get onto that, today is the perfect, you couldn't paint a better picture of dysfunction. I think I put it up on our WhatsApp. What other type of organization can tell its customers to go fuck themselves and treat them the way they do?
Oh,
and how
I remember
dysfunctional it can be.
Ratners,
yeah, remember that?
But see if we get back to the manager, manager search, we're going to come to the AGM and no doubt in a fullness of time tonight, but the manager search, this nothingness, again, 3 weeks into it, when Desi just said, probably just before you joined it, when Brendan resigned, right, we thought, right, Martin and Art will see them out until the break for internationals. They'll start the dialogue in the background. Common sense, probably during the international 2-week break is when they'll look to announce. Then there was wee rumours circulating, usually from Celtic to one or two of their preferred poodles in the press, that just before the AGM, a new manager may be announced, just as a good news for it. Nothing. Flat. Nothing. And it makes you think how bad we have been in negotiations for players the last few windows. Is it quite possible that the same people who fucked up continuously in terms of initial engagement with the people, no the final decision maker, initial engagement, are doing the same major fuck up here in the manager hunt? Or is that too fucking out there?
The only way I think it's too far out there, but the only reason I think it's too far out there is that it's normally been the opposite. And it's when I say the opposite in terms of what would be a normal approval process. It's normally Desmond announced them, go and meet Michael to get your contract, or go and meet Peter to get your contract. If that is the norm, so Desmond theoretically then would have anointed Nancy, and now it's fallen apart, then somebody has to be accountable to that. But in all of the other fuck ups, no one's been held accountable. No one's been held accountable for the failures in the window. No one's been held accountable. Or Desmond, circled the wagons and supported his troops on Rogers, said it was all Rogers' fault. You keep going back through this pattern, Hector, and I think we sometimes give them not enough credit. And I think in terms of how sleek and sneaky and political they are, we don't give them enough credit. But I think sometimes
that's a bit right. We'll try and keep that in mind for when we now move on to the AGM 1 second. This finally on the manager thing, this back, Monty, I'll just come to you, I'll stick to you because I've kind of raised it to Ralph and Nick already. It's the Wilfried Nancy thing, right? That seemed to come left field, came from nowhere, and then it was getting pushed straight to the front. Do you think that was maybe just a PR exercise, just to kind of win some headlines for a wee while to give the impression they were doing something? And the fact that, or do you think they maybe, because Columbus Crew came out and go, we've never gave permission to speak to anybody. We have no idea what you're talking about here. You know what I mean?
Aye.
So, because even right to it could cost £2 million compensation. And then they come in and go, what he's talking about? This guy's making plans for next season with us.
And Celtic offered 200,000, Desi. Celtic offered 200,000 compensation.
Exactly. That's what it is. No, that was the Hammerby. You could get the Hammerby. The Hammerby manager, I think, was meant to go to Swansea, and then Middlesbrough, somebody tapped him up, and it turned out he had a 250k release clause, and I went, Celtic will be right on that. You know what I mean? Who can we get for 250k?
Can I have something to say a wee bit? So I had a wee joke there about that. If there's a 2 million release, there's one big fucking blockage with Celtic negotiating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing that I think could be. Aye.
But remember,
sorry, hold on a wee second, Monty. That could be. We'll come back to that. That could be one thing. The second thing that we'll go to factor in. Nancy did Bill Couch fly over to London last week, right? And he's had conversations. He'd mentioned perhaps Desmond he's just no get a feel for him after meeting him. Look at it from a slightly different angle. It's been noted that Nancy's got a core of maybe 4 other coaches that he had with him at Montreal. He's took with him to Columbus, his trusted group. And for him to get the job, he wants, understandably, his core of trusted lieutenants who know their job day to day, inside out, delegation authority, they crack on. I wouldn't put it past Celtic to go, well, wait a wee minute. We've got Gavin Stark in here, and we've got big Stevie McManus. We just brought Stephen in from, and wee Sean, great wee guy, I love him.
Stevie Woods.
Could that be perhaps, to slightly turn it his head, Nancy's went, well, I'm no fucking gone with these guys.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe did it, didn't he?
Eddie Howe, yeah, by all intent tried to get, but he had to try and convince boys to come with him. He just couldn't convince them to come on the journey.
Because Ange came himself, remember? Ange came himself, and Brendan came himself the last time.
Yeah. And maybe that, again, sometimes when you don't give them enough credit or you give them too much credit, that could be just simply a fundamental walkaway for the guy, where he just goes, look, nah, if I can't bring my own team, guys, I'm not the guy. So now you're back to square one. But the way that it was massaged out, like the no smoke without fire, the way it was pushed to the front of the agenda, to Desi's earlier point, it's the classic squirrel. I see Celtic's PR now, and all I can think about is Jim Traynor. Seriously, that's how poor it is. That's how fucking sleek it and sneaky it is now. I see everything I see in the media, in the print media, or online, or on TV when it comes to Celtic. All I can see it now is through a lens thinking, Jim fucking Trainor's working for Celtic now. It's got that ridiculously bad. And you look at the state of the statements tonight as well. You look at how this is being managed. We're 4 weeks in now. 4 weeks from McKay gave his resignation. We have an interim that's always an interim. But everyone else is touching upon the Maloney thing. And was Maloney always the guy? And is that what they're going to write out? And if he's successful, then why not give him it the same way that Lennon got it? And if that is the case, we're a fucking shambles, guys. We can't even attract. We can't
Yeah.
attract people from unknown, non-European leagues at the States. That's just
So that so
it's
much
ridiculous.
so much. That's exactly just so you can on. So that's exactly what Hector and I were discussing. Milestones. We went from before the international break. By the end of the international break, now it's going to be before the January window. By the end of the January window, then it's going to be end of the season, World Cup. So again, we're going to suddenly start to get the Maloney. So we've went Maloney and O'Neill all day, and O'Neill's already started. I think Martin O'Neill seems to be talking a wee bit more in the distance himself. To be honest, the last couple of days, literally quicker the better. I'm away for it. Whereas it'll be all right. We'll get him Maloney at the end of the season, and then potentially you're looking at a Steve Clark after the World Cup.
I was just about to say, Steve Clark. I'm telling you, if it's not Robbie Keane as Desmond sticks two fingers up with us, Steve Clark's probably a solid bet in this.
Right, Ralph, get your pension on Steve Clark as a backup, just in case.
Do you know what I did notice today when talking about Martin O'Neill? You know when he came on and he said, "Oh, this was a sad day," and what would Jock Steiner thought of it? Did you notice his demeanour compared to how he's been maybe over the last couple of 3 weeks? That was a guy that is sick to death of it, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if within the next week or so he kind of withdraws. We've a game tomorrow night, 8:00. After that game, watch the interview, because I really feel he's about ready to go away.
Yeah,
he just can't be. The guy's 73. He doesn't need this, and he obviously knows a wee bit more than us. I think he's about ready to just say, "Oh, sod this."
But I also think, Ralph, you're totally right. But I also think he's very intelligent, and he knows he's not getting used as a human shield. I mean, he's not going to be the guy between the board and the fans, because that helps the board out for so long.
He did today.
No, yes.
Did you not notice?
But I was gutted for him, because they're using a guy who we all love to bits, everybody's favourite uncle. And Martin will always love Martin because of what he did, but yet today he's sitting with these fuckers. They've got him there sitting with them, right? And he got a big round of applause, Martin. He was the one that he was the one. And then understandably, the media is asking questions, not for the board was going to Sky Sports. So they go to Martin O'Neill, get Martin up there. And what happens is they ask Martin the state for us, Desmond. And Martin's caught in the back foot. But well, pretty much same way he's entitled. Like you say, pretty much, when they say Martin said he totally agreed with it, but he was kind of almost endorsing Ross saying that. And you're going, fuck. So they're putting Martin in a position he shouldn't be in as a fucking shield, and it's no right.
Yeah, so that's why I think this was well touched on. I think this is the start of his exit plan. He will quickly say, right, time for me to go. If it's going to be Maloney and McManus even, then I'll just I'm available on the phone if you need me, but I'll no longer be doing the press conferences and stuff. Right, so well, that brings us to the AGM, right? So an hour later, thanks very much to everyone who stood by waiting for Monty to finally get settled. I'm glad to report he does have a lager in his hand, so there's no any excuses. So, Monty C, Corporate Action Burns. Let's go to today's AGM. It was expected to be a quiet affair. Everyone thought it would be the usual ticking the box exercise, staged event, standard AGM. The first shock of the day, Monty, there was no coffee or tea supplied for the punters in the room, I believe. And there was so many punters they needed 2 rooms. So that was so should we applaud? So should our first action be, Monty, to applaud the Celtic board for clearly saving quite a lot of money in catering costs today?
There did seem to be rumours of expensive biscuits and people pocketing quite a few of them. I suspect that the withholding of the hot liquid was on the basis that it could be thrown, but nothing more strategic than that. The coverage of it was quite phenomenal, and I tried looking up comparatives. Yeah, I couldn't find one. I genuinely couldn't find a comparative where a publicly listed company would have an AGM that descended into such farce. Can't
I
find
think
one.
Enron was kind of a wee bit like it by the end of
But
Enron.
yeah, but you're into more American sort of corporate pageantry at that
Yeah,
stage,
but
at a scale. It's
you're also not into you're also not into an AGM for a company which has got £77 million in the bank. At that point,
exactly and crying fucking poverty and saying that they're using it wisely. So I think it was a setup. There's no doubt about that. That was a setup today. They knew exactly. And this is the second time, and you know my thoughts on the collective, and I've said this in the collective, and I've said it in. It's a brilliantly well-intentioned thing, but I just think that you can't. There's too much emotion. There's too much anger. There's too much energy collected, ironically, within that collective, for there to be a strategic thought process that would go in behind engaging like that. All you had to do
Today,
was let them say their piece, and you could have hung them out to dry straight after. But the message that has been delivered today is probably more powerful and actually better than you sitting quietly listening to the bullshit and then trying to be professional. Because I think no matter what way that played out today, Ross Desmond was reading that statement because his dad told him to, and Peter Lawwell was cutting that meeting because that was his job. And that's the type of people we're now dealing with who call themselves custodians of our football club. Lads. That was no doubt, I have no doubt in my mind, pre-planned and executed exactly the way they wanted. And as Desi pointed out, that's them scot-free now until the season ticket renewal. They don't
But
even
what
have to
it's
answer
done,
another fucking question.
but what it's done for the first time publicly, and I mean publicly, I don't mean by putting a statement on a website, because it's still quite faceless, right? As they do. They're putting a
Yeah,
couple tonight, by the way, right? But for
seen
the
that.
first time publicly, it's pulled the veil down. So we've all had our concerns, and a lot of it you think, maybe we're just maybe a bit paranoid, or maybe they're not quite as bad as we hear about what they've been doing in private, their dreadful way of trying to bring players to the club, their dreadful lack of engagement with supporters, their collusion with the police in so many cases over the years for different sections of their supporter
alleged,
base,
alleged, alleged collusion,
Alleged.
their collusion with the police,
alleged collusion.
where the Kirtland of Celtic fans before the Rangers game last season outside the Celtic Social Club, and the collusion with the police across the board for many years, right?
Yep.
That in itself is bad enough. But today, when you seen the behaviour of one Law pretty much telling everybody to shut up, telling
Behave.
shareholders pretty much behave, and that
I've
look right.
I've just words
But
behave.
aye, but the bit I'm really, but that was one. But the big thing was the Ross Deadman pre-prepared. Think about it, pre-prepared fucking statement he's reading out. So he's came with his dad. His dad's gave him that and say, add a couple of bits, Ross. There's my draft. Do a bit to it. Send it back to me. Then yep, good to go. Now, I wonder if even those guys in the Celtic board sitting there had seen what he was about to read.
No.
Because if they'd all seen that, tell me that most of them would have went, wait a minute, right? You've got to take out this, and this, because see what you're doing
No.
here? You're setting off the one almighty fucking fire. Hold on, publicly. You've pulled the private veil down and shown the true face here of your dad and yourself as out and out fucking bullies, and you've done it publicly today for the first time.
But here's the thing, if I can come in, because I know Ralph wants to come in on it too. In the second Bananas gym trainer statement tonight, 40 out of 970 attendees, they specifically call that out. That's what they're going after and what they're trying to marginalize and how they've completely missed the point, Hector. They believe that this is a bunch of rabble that's turning up and making lots of noise and don't have a fucking clue. They're completely out of touch with the sentiment of the fan base. And to your point, that veil, that statement is so fucking wrong and condescending on a million different levels that I would suggest that 80% of the fan base are looking at that going, hold on a wee fucking minute here. But there's two things to it, Hector. Firstly, I don't believe they've seen it. And if they did, I don't believe they would have tried to edit it, because they're all messenger boys for a narcissistic billionaire, and they're all paid obscene amounts of money to be that. Ross Desmond delivering that statement is literally just, it's part of the pageantry here. But as someone pointed out, the Sun of a minority shareholder, who, as far as I know, is he an office holder? Is he on the board? Is he an executive of the
I
club?
think he is on the board. He's on the
Dermot
board.
is.
Yeah.
Dermot is. So
Is
he
he?
might be allowed a
Yeah.
proxy.
So a proxy. So he's Dermot's proxy for Dermot on the board on that day. So he does have a formal role inside the structures of what would be the constituted board. The board, so let's call it pageantry again, for lack of a better term, for that AGM. And AGMs typically just follow a process. They're just box checking exercises. In all of it, Hector, the veil's down, but there's one piece that you gotta really remember here. They don't give a fuck. Because where are you going to go? Where's Desi going to go? Where am I going to go? And where's Ralph going to go for their football fix? Are you going to fuck off across the city and start watching Partick? And this is the cynicism of Ratner, to your earlier point, Ralph. This is fucking more cynical than Ratner. Sell them shit. They don't give a fuck. And the thing is, until Desmond goes, none of them can be moved. So we're stuck. And I mentioned it in the WhatsApp. This is a fucking death spiral now. This doesn't end. This is really, really ugly now. And it's because of the whims of an egotistical billionaire. Simple as that. Really bizarre when you think of where we were in Munich just over a year ago. Or less than a year ago.
Ralph, I'll let you have 5 minutes.
This is what I can't understand. I was kind of watching the early clips from the AGM, and I seen the red cards going up, and I seen the heckling, and I seen the behave and all this kind of thing. And I thought, oh, God almighty, can you not just go in, sit down and talk to them at a level? These guys know their business, right? They're all savvy. They're running a PLC. It's making a lot of money. Don't go in and behave like you're at a football match. And I watched all the wee bits after, and I've seen an interview with Jeanette Finlay, and she said what happened was she made a point of order. She wanted to move the motion forward to ask questions, and that's the point where they took the recess. And then all of a sudden, Ross Desmond comes back out, and you get that statement, which looked kind of structured, like you say, pre-planned. You know, we're a wee team and a big team and a small league. We don't have the money to compete at the top level. At that point, you would have asked, well, how come Bodo Glimt, Ferencváros, all these teams have put us out of Europe in the qualifiers? But then he said that bit about anti-establishment supporters, which is exactly what we are. I'm not quite sure how he took so long to get there. That's what Celtic Football Club is. That's what we always will be. And I think Jeanette rattled him a wee bit, and he added that wee bit.
It was the second bit, Ralph. The second bit is what is the most inflammatory. That notion of and contribute nothing to society.
That's the bit. I think that they've got this plan, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, take a few questions, and she says, hold on, I don't want to watch this video, right? Put your junk away, stop sucking each other's, and let's go to the point here now where we can address the issues that the support have. And they panicked, they went away, and that is, let's face it, Desmond has got form for maybe putting out you're all bastards and you've upset me and you've stood up to me. He did that with Rodgers. Has he done it again just simply because Jeanette went up and says, hold on, there's nothing in the Articles of Association that prevent me from bringing the agenda
these matters up. Yeah. And
so
but this is the cuteness in the room.
People like that be in charge of the club?
But the counter to that, but these are politics in larger companies that really don't play out in companies the size of Celtic. For it to play out in a company the size of Celtic is pathetic. But again, these are boys that are drunk on a huge amount of salary that they really have never will see the like of again in their lives. The context of how a board behaves to its shareholders should be the story, and it's not. We talked about O'Neill and O'Neill being dragged into a message on Steam. That's a squirrel, Desi. That's another one to your point around how we manage the Nancy message. So the story now is about what O'Neill said. The story isn't about essentially a principal shareholder, not a majority shareholder's son reading a statement, fundamentally insulting every customer that the organisation has and all of the shareholders in the room. A chairman treating the shareholders in the room and their proxies with utter fucking disdain, cancelling and calling a meeting sharp, not fulfilling the objectives of an AGM under some notion that they were somehow, the order could not be restored, therefore, we can't proceed. Playing it on a technicality, then issuing statements. This is fucking pound shop politics by boys who are out of their depth, and we've been talking about them being out of their depth for a long, long time, who don't really know how to operate in modern football, and unfortunately, we're stuck.
They don't know how to deal with people.
We're stuck with them because the guy, the principal shareholder believes that the track record over the last 20 years while he's been actively involved is second to none. And if you measure it in Scottish trophies, and we're going to go back over this ground, it does remove the huge caveat of 2012. And that's what I think is the sore point, because we all fucking know that from 2012 up until now, realistically, a club our size should have been dominating no matter what. Ronnie Dyla, etc., etc., etc. But football's not like that. So,
okay, I've got a few notes here. Right? I've got a few thoughts. The Hector's question, I think all of the board were fully aware of what that Ross statement was. Let's not forget, Dermot Desmond had full board approval to put his Brendan Rodgers backlash up on the Celtic website. I mean, that needed full board approval. So that was equivalent to that was basically.
Did it, Desi?
Of course it. Well, again, even.
No, seriously.
No, wait. Sorry. Let me put that in context. Even if they had saw that the day, they wouldn't have said a word, and even if they did say a word, they would have still read it regardless. And I don't think they, even if they saw it and thought, "Fuck me," I don't think one of them would have spoke up. Not one of them's got a backbone to walk out the door and say, "I will not stand by this." That kind of idea. So I think they were fully aware of what that was going to say, and particularly because of what it said towards the end. If you watch any of the videos for that thing, the immediate point of uproar is as soon as he mentions Falkirk. As soon as they mention the Falkirk game, it goes mental. Because, and like I wrote here, the board, we mentioned this before in the WhatsApp, the board's responsibility on AGM is to answer to the shareholders. It's not to dictate to the shareholders. There should be no behave. They're not to tell the wee guy what to do. They're there to answer for their faults and their problems and their criticisms. So they should have been ready for that, red cards, whatever, booing, whatever it was. They should have been prepared to suck it up because it was coming their way, right? But as soon as you mentioned Falkirk, I think that was the end game out there. The end game is get rid of the Green Brigade. That's it. That is the end game. It's the statement tonight, but the supporters, etc., there's more issues, and they've went and let it slip regards collusion, and there's been no collusion, and this will not be accepted. The end game is the Green Brigade will be away by the end of the season.
But they're not getting. I know disagreement in your side there. I get what you're saying, right, and you're probably right. But what the board are not getting. This isn't a Green Brigade versus a Celtic board. This might have been something 2-3 years ago, right? This is now significantly different. This is people like me and you and others who are no part of part of the Grandis Ultra group, right, or the Da Ultra group. But joking aside, we're no part of anything other than Celtic season ticket holders, and we think the board are fucking useless and should be gone.
Yes, right. So exactly right. But at the moment, only the Green Brigade are making an issue. I know we've got the collective that now coming on board and getting up to speed, but the Green Brigade have traditionally been the pain in the arse, right? And we were back to them. All right, they've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but their intentions have always been for the best for Celtic, so to speak. I know there's occasional you could say maybe no, but the board have went fuck this, we're going to deal with this problem that annoys us. Like the AGM and the David Green Brigade, that shouldn't even been mentioned, right? Not what I'm saying. So they're just using that as an excuse to deal with a problem on their side. Because people like us who sit in podcasts like this and complain, the Celtic dads of the world, there's another 40, they'll say there's 2,000 Green Brigade and 500 of the boys, or 1,000 of the boys. There's another 50,000 Celtic dads in that stadium who go, it's a pain in the arse, the politics, but I'm not really going to do anything about it. So they'll get rid of their problem because they know we will sit in our horns and just shrug. And there's people behind us waiting to get the season books in front. Not that idea. We need to everybody needs to stand up and go, hold on a minute. They came for the Green Brigade. Who are they going to come for next? You know what I mean? In my opinion, this is how I see it. I think that's how this will play out. The Green Brigade will be gone, the boys will be gone, and it'll be a nice, quiet fucking graveyard of a fucking stadium because they've reduced it to that. Tourism football.
There is one thing we've not mentioned yet, which is just going to come to me while you were talking there. Was there not a huge transfer of shares either last night or the night before? Run about either £500,000 worth or £1 million worth.
That's that Linsell. It's not a huge amount, but that's Linsell Train, and I think the boys in Celtic Supporters Limited might have picked that up. So watch that space. I think
either somebody's buying into it or somebody's trying to get out of it.
I think the CSL guys may well be buying into it.
So, and so again, come back with some Monty's here, right? I've always said it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game. It's heavily weighed against the fucking house. So how do you get somebody who's willing to buy £120 million worth of shares? I mean, you can try and get enough to cause inconvenience. The 30 million worth, 30% to call for EGMs and be a pain in the arse. I don't know if that would be enough of a pain in the arse, Monty, to inconvenience this board. They would just be blasé enough because this isn't inconveniencing them. You know what I mean?
There's nothing operationally that's going to inconvenience them, Desi, other than financial collapse. So, in the absence of a financial collapse, i.e. 25,000, 30,000 maximum in the stadium, and all that entails, and they know that that's not going to happen. But there is a point I'll come back on the waiting list, because the waiting list is a fiction. The waiting list doesn't exist. And that's genuinely, the waiting list is a fucking fiction. And if they were to really test that and there was to be real mobilization, I think they would find out very, very quickly. Now that's getting into really dark
because of course
stuff
they're assuming that, like, if there's a protest against the board, they're assuming immediately that all these guys on a waiting list, even though it doesn't exist, would jump in.
Yeah.
Well, of course they would. They'll have the same mind
as
the ones that are giving up the boots.
So how do you get rid of a problem with a 1920s moustache? It probably takes about 200 million in total. It has to be venture back because there's nobody with that level of deep pockets who would just pull that out and say, have we got that? So you're into then moving ownership we went from the Kellys and the Whites to Fergus to the fans with a couple of big boys, and now we've come to the Desmonds and the Lawls. Let's assume Michael and Chris or Peter's sort of, not his love children, but you know what I mean, they're spawned from him. He shaped them. So you're going to have to remove that at the same time. So you're talking about essentially an aggressive takeover, an unwelcome takeover, if you believe what Desmond says, or you make him quite literally an offer he can't refuse. And in good old Godfather parlance, he won't go. The man's ego's now up. He's been, people have locked horns with him. How fucking dare you? He's a 73, 76-year-old billionaire who doesn't give a fuck. It's a plaything for him. So until he's bored with it, he's not going to leave. He's not getting bored with it anytime soon because it gets him access to all the glitzy parties and tickets to the Champions League buffet and seats in UEFA, which is access. And he wants his sons to have access so that after he goes, when he pops his clogs and those multi-fucking billions are hanging about, he wants to make sure his sons know what sort of circles to swim in as well. So there is a model, Desi. a validated and tested financial model that would actually allow Celtic to be bought for 225 million and return the entire ownership into a not profit over 10 years. And it's a functional model that works with our existing revenues. Essentially, you'd be looking to leverage about 120 to 150 borrowed, and then find 70 from deep pockets. You'd have an interim scenario of a couple of years where boys with deep pockets would be setting the direction of the company. But you can completely restructure and reconstitute the club. So no board member can serve more than 5 years. No CEO can ever serve more than 3 years. CEO salary is capped at 500 grand a year. Board tenure is X, board remuneration is Y. And based on our current revenues and our current cost base, you could pay back not only that loan, but that principal over 10 years. And on the good years where you get into the Champions League and you progress, you pay off a little bit more of it. And do you know who would back it? And I'd be very surprised if David Lowe and these boys aren't thinking this way. The Co-op Bank would back it. I've no doubt the Co-op Bank would back it. But you're still going to need 70 or 80 million out of other people's pockets. You could do a share issue. You could do a share issue.
No, I'd just get Rod Stewart to do it. He's getting on a wee bit. He probably would understand the question. So
no, that Tory bastard can fuck. That Tory bastard can get the fuck too.
But
so,
on that,
so it works. Sorry, Desi, just to round out the point, it works. There is a way to do it, but ultimately, the man who's sitting on 30% of the shareholding, ironically, can dictate as if he's sitting on 100% of the shareholding. So Linsell Train getting off the train to be bought probably by a Celtic-minded group of people is the start. But you're talking 5 years unless you can get them in a room and say, look, take 200 and fuck off. That's what you're really looking for.
Right, so I'll bring this to Hector. So Hector, I don't know if you've noticed, like on the Twitter feed today, there's been quite a bit, I don't want to say a lot of, but there's been quite a bit of be careful what you wish for kind of response from the apathetic Celtic Da community, let's say, who aren't that really that annoyed with the Dermot Desmond approach at Celtic at the moment. So when people start going, we need change, we need to see, they start going, I might end up with like a foreign government taking you over or a city group taking you over. So maybe you're better just sitting and
kind of thing.
You know what I mean? So how are you meant to convince these people there is a problem if you can't see a problem?
I think that's a small. No, there is, of course, there's people who think that way, but I would say, I know online doesn't reflect people who go to the games and season. We get that, we know that, right? But I would say that online-wise, it's maybe significant the numbers that want the board ousted. I think if we did a poll on Twitter tonight, you might find as much as 80% would want them ousted. Again, it's no replicating season ticket holders. I would take a slight different approach for you, Desi. I think the Green Brigade, your point earlier, I think the Green Brigade in that section, there might be 100 to 200 people, and then the boys are about 40, 50. And I get your point you're making earlier, but I don't think there's 50,000, 52,000 Celtic season ticket holders who are happy with the board. I think there's people like you, like me, most round about me who have been going for years. So whether that means they want them completely ousted, or like most folk, dare I say it, would like a sort of middle ground. And what we mean by that is a chief executive who communicates regularly with the supporter base, governance structures in place. Monty articulated better than MD could about length of period where they can be in specific roles, including what their salary can be, a director of football in place, delegated authority with the head of recruitment and the manager working as a triumvirate. So there's just a common sense middle ground approach, which sadly, where we are now, looks even further away than it probably did a week or two ago.
Right, so my point wasn't that 50,000 people supporting the board. My point was 50,000 people are not willing to do anything to change the board.
Desi, I think I would now. I would genuinely now. I'm pretty scunnered with them. I would, for the first time in a long time now, seriously consider no renew my season ticket next year. Right. So my youngest son goes. He's an age he can go himself now. The young guy next to us. I've been going like you for God knows many years. Right. I wouldn't deny him his ticket. He can keep his. But for me, I've kind of reached that point where is this it? We're just getting the money year in year out and we get hee-haw about it. You're not even treated as a customer. Ferguson's over the customer, but not treated as customers because customers would leave. There's no respect towards the fan base. There's no communication. There's no dialogue. There's no listening to ideas. Even the survey they did, what was it, 18 months late after they had the fucking arm put up their back to share it. So I just think how they treat us, I'm now at the point I'm scunnered with them, and for the first time in a long time, I would really give serious consideration not to renew my ticket next season. And that's me. You know what I mean? I'm not what you call somebody who's, well, I can be unhinged, but you know, I'm not one of those ones.
The old Queensley spirit can get fired up.
After I bought a bucky, right? I never leave you, right?
I mean, you're clearly anti-establishment, and you contribute fuck all to society. So as far as
first bit's a badge of honour. Can I just make a comment so I don't forget? Aye, that's it. Do you know what? That's a top seller, isn't it? New for Celtic fan base. That I was going to say just a point of order. Just to say, my earlier point about Celtic and the police being in collusion, allegedly.
Thank you.
I know, Desi, I'm not winking at the camera as I say that.
That was an interesting kind of line. You know, when Desmond said, you're all anti-establishment, but the establishment is the billionaires. That's his family. That's his upbringing. That's everything about him. Well, of course we're anti-establishment. We're anti-you and your family because of what you're doing to the club that I've been following for 60 years.
The thing, Ralph, sorry, the key, and I know we've talked about it on multiple podcasts whenever we have these peaks and troughs, but especially in the troughs, that as a club, we're really no good at being top dog. We're really not, we don't fit. And I mean this as a club, like the entirety of our ethos, or at least what most of us believe the ethos of Celtic is, it is not establishment. The very notion that you would somehow think that way, that there's a rump of anti-establishment. No, you fucking idiot. They're all like that up to a point. Some of them just happen to be more anti-establishment than everyone else. We've always been the underdog. We've always been the fucking downtrodden within the context. And we still are this very much.
That's gone. We've got £80 million fucking cash in the bank. We are no longer, from a football club perspective, we're different. I've got to mention this. I was laughing at Ralph's point there. Not because of what Ralph said, it's what Ralph didn't say, right? When Ralph said, of course we're anti-establishment because we're everything that you aren't. And I thought he was going to say something else. He never said it. We're everything you are not. You're cunts. I thought that was what you were going to say, and you never. And I was waiting for it. And I had a wee laugh privately there, and I thought, fuck, maybe it's just some visit talk like that. Right.
The thing that baffles me most about how we've got here in less than 10 months. This is the thing. This is the ultimate puzzler. Is that it's almost like this perfect storm has just literally, we didn't fucking see it coming. It's come from every angle. The Kyogo sale last January was probably the canary in the coal mine, but we all missed it because that team was right at its peak. So you had an utter collapse in function from the club in terms of not being able to replace selling players, which is its function as a club, but not replacing them, which is also part of its function. You had an utter collapse in the form. And this is our system thinking coming out of me now, bear with me. You had an utter collapse in the form of the club in terms of the output on the pitch. We were fucking dreadful and had been for a number of months under Brendan before he left. And then the emergent properties, this old MIT system thinking, form, function, and emergent properties. Stick the two together, what do you get? What does this thing produce? It was this misfiring, really fucking ugly version of Celtic Football Club. And what is now settling after the fucking engine, at least sounds like it's back in tune on its 6 cylinders, is this ugly version of Celtic seems to be what the people at the top want. They want us to be establishment. They don't want fan interaction. It's almost like they want us to be treated like a little private plaything of a billionaire, which ironically, would it be any worse moving from Desmond to another billionaire on the basis that a billionaire coming in the door would say, well, look, I'm going to put 100 million on the table and I really want to go for it, but I expect a return. Would that be that bad? You know, them holding up the fact that they don't pay dividends or they don't extend dividends out as if it's some fucking wonderful thing. The notion of keeping all that money in the bank because just in case the whole structure of the club could fucking wail, they're out of tune and so out of date. And
There's
it's
risk
just the
averse,
most
right?
puzzling thing.
There's risk averse and there's risk averse. And
Negligent.
and the thing about it was interesting, you know, some of the things that he did say after he'd lit the fuse and riled so many people, not just the 40, but the looks of it, 900 people there. I would say that there was significantly more than 40 people, and they weren't all collective because STV did an interview with folk who came out of it, and it was people in their 60s, and just guys, well-spoken guys as well with their suits, and every one of them went, yeah, the board's out of control, the board's totally wrong here. There wasn't one person that spoke in defence of the board. It wasn't young guys in their early 20s, you know, dressed like the Green Brigade. It was the complete opposite. It was kind of, you know, guys, older guys, whatever, all saying the same thing. But the thing with him that he said was, no, interesting, right? He says, yeah, of course we make mistakes in terms of, you know, we want to get the football right. We want to punch a bit higher than what we're doing. We want to get the data analytics on board, right? All the wee sound bites, but the point is that this is the bigger concern now. And again, what you commented on it quite well, right? You see it as fucking, this is just the start of a fucking spiral to fucking hell for a period of time, right?
Yeah.
I would like to look at it some other way that right, somebody somewhere over the next couple of weeks has got to reach out and say, right, look, we need to find some modicum of middle ground, something. We can't keep it like that. We can't keep people getting further and further and further away, right? Because it really helps no one. You're right, the egos, they don't give a fuck. But the guys who work day to day at Celtic, right? People who want the club to do well, the Martin O'Neills, the players, they've got a big, they're going, look, we need the support with us here. Come on, Martin. Martin, can you talk to Dermot? You've got the relationship. Dermot's came to you, he phoned you up that Monday night, out the blue and went, look, Brendan's away, need you to come in. Martin's jumped. Martin, how about you as that person to sit down with Dermot Desmond and say, look, right, look, this is where it is. We've got to find a middle ground here where somehow we bring the support and the people in the club together. Because see, if we don't, this is torturous for a long time and helps no one.
Can I
But
just
is that
on
not
that?
exactly what Brendan Rodgers said to Nicholson, that we need to find middle ground, and all of a sudden
Said it publicly.
descended
Said it publicly.
and
Said it
it's
publicly.
ridiculous. Right now, I think the only thing that would satisfy the support is if we can have sacrificed at least one person who had the surname Desmond before each home game on one, like the Aztecs used to do. And that might just kind of stop it down a wee bit. It's not going to happen. I think it's gone too far.
The thing is, so here's a unifying challenge to you. If they appointed O'Neill as director of football, and O'Neill in turn appointed Sean Maloney as manager, would you accept it?
I had no choice. What could I do?
But would you believe that to be a unifying statement, that O'Neill is the guy who now does the saving of the collective, not mean the collective, the unifying, with a bunch of snakes on his left and hamstrung by a young fella that he thinks maybe has the potential to be a manager? Because if I'm playing out the sequence of moves, that's probably on the agenda. If I'm working through scenarios as part of that executive team, I would be seriously considering that as an option. Might be a fallback option, because it's clear, as you say, wee Sean's in there, Big Stevie's in there, Gav's in there, great guys. I want to bring my own team. Nah, I don't think that's going to wash. Well, fuck that, I'm not taking it. So if they want another one-man band coming in to work with the existing structures, when the existing structures are really not fit for purpose, we're going to really struggle to get a manager, a decent one. We really are.
The problem with that is O'Neill left a long time ago, and I think what was it said? You better get used to life in the slow lane.
Prepare for life in the slow lane.
He knows this board. He knows what they're going to do. He knows exactly how they work, and I think he would turn it down.
And I think, to go back to an earlier point, and this is why, I know, Richie, this is why your fiver, I think, is safe. Robbie Keane took the job in occupied Palestine without any backroom staff. And he brought 2 people with him, junior people. He took the job in Hungary on a similar basis. He doesn't need a big team behind him. Watch that space.
God, that's depressing. Even though I
It's
wouldn't
okay,
quite have
right.
money.
I'm wearing a time.
What man, Desi, Man Island do? Man, only positive is that Monty jumped in with used to fucking whinging cunts. Is it just me? It's Mr. Happy now.
You talking about realism, CSC versus Daydream Believer? Fucking up.
In your own words, curmudgeons.
Curmudgeons. Monty's curmudgeon burns.
But yeah, but again, right. So I did have one wee question. Like, Don Raid's on Celtic fans for breach of the peace. Alleged club collusion. Scotland got the World Cup and the Oasis tour will be officially back to the future these days. I mean, things seem to have went full circle. Right, quickly.
I missed. Wait, no, to go back to that thing about the Polish going through somebody's door in the morning for breach of the peace.
Ultimately, the Charles will be breach of the peace. Apparently, one of the guys didn't even stay in the house; it was his dad's house.
And again, that tells you everything you need to know about the sort of strings that are being pulled in the background here.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Get it right, guys. Get it right.
If Eaton's lawyer sobered up enough to hear this.
For what it is, I've got what you might call considerable legal experience.
In this space.
And
all right,
Peter Shelley. And I've had it happen. And it has to be for something serious. You can't do that for breach of the peace. You can't. That's ridiculous. Where did that come from? Who made the complaint?
The classic contempt of court. Now, let's see how this plays out, but it's really worrying that we're doing this road and finding a compromise, as Hector says, finding somebody who could bridge that gap. I don't know if there's anyone with a wide enough stance that could manage that right now, to be honest. So I'll be interested to see what happens. Right, let's quickly move on. We're out of time. Hector, how do you think this will impact the team's game tomorrow night, 8 p.m, whatever Love Street's called these days? The Mirren, 8 p.m. Never an easy place to go, is it?
I know, especially the way they play, right, against us. So it's always a hard enough game going there, the way that Robinson's got them, to give him a bit of credit. They've got a style and he does it really well and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's hard enough. So you're going to have a large part of supporter base going fucking bananas at the board tomorrow night, right? But what they have been doing well, I think, is in picking the board at the right time, then backing the team. So I think that will continue. Will it have an impact on the players? It shouldn't have, because they're not picking on the players, right? As long as the fan base continue to show that encouragement for the majority, I don't think it will. I think it's a hard enough game as it is, Desi. All the injuries we've got and fucking everything else and how they play. I think even with a full squad, it'd be a hard enough game. So I don't think it'll have an impact. I think the game's hard enough, and I would take a 1-0 Celtic victory right now if you offered me it.
Nah, I think they'll score. I think they'll score. I'm trying to remember the big guy midfielder. Maybe seemed to score quite a lot.
I know who you mean. Gogic.
No, he's a sweeper.
No, it's one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I'll go for 2-1. What about you, Ralph? Do you think the team, Martin O'Neill, Maloney, they'll be able to kind of ignore this, put it to the side, or will there be the distraction, as the media like to call it?
Well, like I said earlier, a distraction with Maeda wanting to get away again and shows his true Celtic colours. That's a Daily Record story from today, maybe for tomorrow. Paisley away is always a difficult game. It's going to be more difficult now because of the injuries. That again raises that question of what's going on in the training ground. Is it actually injuries, or are players just kind of fed up with it and ringing up and saying they've got a cough? We're in a terrible place.
Well, it's
And
hamstrings, Ralph. It's hamstrings. It's no.
oh, come
a
on,
cough.
that's no even a
The
real
whole
injury.
club's, the whole club's
That's a
hamstrung.
made-up thing. That's when you're running away for the police and you
watched
fall
him
down because you're getting on a
collapsing
wee
in the
bit.
pitch with a hamstring.
But no, in Ralph's day, you pulled your hamstrings after turning up with 3 barrels of turf
It's
to
the
warm
money
the
track.
students for the
You
days, and
put a
then
credit-
do your
wait
run
now.
and
Holy Grail.
working down the mines. And
There's
You
no
put a
such
credit
thing as a
bandage on.
hamstring. It's made up. Right? Bit of ointment, you're fine.
okay.
Bit about a
Bit of ointment, quick rub, magic
I'll be
sponge.
happy with a
Which score you got for
win.
Ralph?
Anyway, 1-0. Oh,
Right,
wait,
well-
now is Schmeichel playing? 2-1.
I've done 2-1. You have to do something else. I'll give you 3-2. I'll give you 3-2.
Do you know what? But there's also a chance that we could run away with like a 4-1 or something. So I'm going to be I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to go 4-1 to us.
Okay, very good.
There
Right,
you
right. Monty, I'm not going to ask you about the game tomorrow. I'm going to ask you about the Ireland game just a wee quick because you never get a chance to add to it. Have you started Kickstarter or fundraiser or whatever for the Liam Scales appreciation statue yet?
I got a few messages from one of the Heaney clan, and I think they're Castle Milk. I can't think so. Saying who the fuck said Liam Scales was shite? Because he has for the last 3 years.
You always said there was a
Brian,
player there.
here, I tell you, is he arguably our most reliable centre half? No,
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible to see, and doesn't look out of his depth in ways that maybe he did 2 years ago. He doesn't, that confidence and that bit more physicality. It's great to see, and he's been brilliant actually. The last 2 games for Ireland were wonderful. Although, like you guys, and you've probably talked about the international stuff. Come on, Tierney's goal and that sort of halfway line, Kenny McLean thing's just beautiful. Absolute poetry. And we've got a chance now. We've got the Czech Republic, which won't be easy. It's away, and then we're more than likely going to be home to Denmark if we can get past the Czech Republic. Although,
That's right. Really
I don't know. I think that illness, if there was an illness in their camp, I mean,
Your
really,
boys.
Oh, fucking there we go, Housen.
No, it's true.
there was.
They were looking.
Hands across the ocean until we qualify.
Well, here we've had this Celtic Cousins debate many times, you fuckers.
Don't forget, guys. He's officially a Portugal fan now that he stays in Portugal for 4 months a year. You know what I mean? He's a Roberto Martinez.
I thought he
fan.
went to Windsor to see the North. Did you know he went to see the North?
Oh, no, yeah, of course it did. Yeah.
Right,
I don't know if you've seen. Sorry, go ahead.
Last thing. After today's AGM, I did ask the Twitter feed eTimsNet to suggest an outro song. So I'll let you guys choose what one you think's the best from here. Paul Mack says "Take It Down from the Mast." Hold on. Eddie C says "Burning Down the House," Talking Heads. Getting Away with It All Messed Up from Mambo Number whatever. And also somebody else said that. Sorry, hold on. Let me just scroll down. Porag also said "Getting Away with It All Messed Up" by James, which is a great song. Eddie Keane said "Backyard Babies and Dysfunctional Professionals," which sounds about right. We have "Mad World" from Davey by Gary Jules. We have "They've Got to Go" by Prince Buster, and some of us maybe go to see Madness in 2 weeks in the Hydro. A wee bit of ska there. "Ballad of a Thin Man." Something is happening that you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? So if there's any Bob Dylan fans, that one's for you there. Here's one. Hector, I found out that you are actually at Rodney Farmer on Twitter, because Rodney Farmer says there must be a song called "Ross is a Cunt" somewhere. So clearly, Hector, that was you.
I have one.
Where Three Wise Men, Christine suggests that, and Sabotage, one for the Beastie Boys from Mac Manet. And then where I would come down to the winners. Rick Gordon suggests "Fool's Gold" and R.I.P. Manny, who passed away this week. Eddie Conroy, "We Got to Get Out of This Place" by the Animals. War by Edwin Starr from KD. Rage Against the Machine from Michael. Cast Walk Away by Gavin Campbell. Contempt by The War Zone by Frank Keenan. And then the winner, I think, Donald Graham, Cat Stevens, Father and Son. because if anything sums up the harmony,
That's
the
quite
lovely
good, yeah.
harmony of today's AGM, it's Cat Stevens' lovely ballad, Father and Son. For
Do you know,
the death
Desi?
of
See,
Edmonds.
way back in the day, I was in Corfu many years ago, right? And at Portland one afternoon at the wee kind of area I was staying in, there were about 20 wee places around the pool. And so there's me and a few other mates of his way, and there was a barman and one other guy there at the bar, and we started talking in the afternoon. American guy started talking away. Oh, it's an unusual American guy being in Corfu this time of year. And it turned out, after a couple more drinks, it wasn't any old American guy, it was Edwin Starr.
Nice.
And I spent the next 4 hours with Edwin Starr, my three mates, and the barman, and Edwin Starr singing songs for the best part of the 3 hours in our company. So there's a wee Edwin Starr. Lovely man. If I was to pick one of the songs, and there were great choices, I think the wonderful Talking Heads and Burning Down the House just feels as if
That's a
kind of
Queensley.
what it
That's a
is.
Queensley coming out in you. That's the 80s Queensley touch coming out.
Burning Down the House, it feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Edwin Starr's kind of one of my heroes with songwriting and singing, and obviously his version of War. How come it never included swear words after he'd been speaking to you?
I didn't used to swear then, Ralph.
That's just purely been exposed to our company. I'll give honourable mentions to Michael G for madness, who I'm going to see, embarrassment. Gerard,
Yes.
Hold on, I have to pronounce this correct because Gerard always pulls me up on Twitter for saying Gerald. Gerard, King of Vino, he's even changed it from Ray of Vino, has suggested Fuck This Shit by Bell and Sebastian, which seems very apt. And we had Won't Get Fooled Again from Tommy the Leeds Tim. So how many times have we said that? Right, but if Hector's got a good friend. Sorry.
I would go with a little tune called Something Better Change by the Stranglers.
Oh, nice.
Way
nice,
back
well,
78.
But the first one that we got in was from Sam and Ass Essential, and I thought that was very apt given the Wilf Reed Nancy links, and it was Placebo, You Don't Care About Us, which I thought was very apt.
See, if you do a Google search, there must be a 70s punk tune called Fuck Off You Cunts. There's got to be something there, a punk band in the 70s.
There must be. There's a chairman of the board band, isn't there? But I don't know, there must be a Sack the Board song out there somewhere.
It's by Eddie and the Hot Rods.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I'll give Monty any last suggestions, Monty. Anything by that Northern Ireland band Somersault at all?
No, I'm just thinking because of the fucking genuine tragedy, and I hope you've touched upon it, of Manny dying from the Stone Roses. A big Tim, and a really genuinely decent guy, apparently. And I'm just looking for a Stone Roses song as we're talking, and the only one that even comes close, probably Love Spreads. Or 10-story love song. I don't know. There's nothing there that really fits, I think. So I'm going to go with Fool's Gold. Fool's Gold, kind of, yeah.
If only you'd listened to me when I actually speak. we did.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, right, so we're well over time.
Burning down the house for me is perfect.
Right, we'll go with that and we'll go with It takes me and Hector back to the good old days, thinking about the tune in 1985 or whatever. A wee bit later on, the choice. Anyway, thanks very much to everyone for listening. Apologies, I know it's a really long one tonight, but as you can clearly hear, we have had a lot to discuss, and this will roll on and on and on. So we may have quite a few podcasts in the immediate future, even before Christmas. We also have the E-Tims Awards coming up. I need to start preparing for that. So, goal of the year. I did actually see some of the previous ones, and one of the goals of the year I had marked down for goals of the year was the quote, "We aim to be world class in everything we do," as an own goal of the year. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know what I mean? So yeah, so this left for me to say thank you for everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, send in your comments. It's always great to hear from. Look out for Ralph's diary at www.etims.net.
Back on Monday.
So there'll be a lot for Ralph to add on to that. So please read the diary. And this is the last for me to say thank you to Hector Bandido. Thank you, Hector.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you to Ralph Mal. Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, enjoyed that again.
And thank you to Monty C for corporate actions. Burns, thank you, Monty.
Thanks, lads.
Curmudgeon,
Fuck,
Desi,
Monty,
Monty
curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon Burns.
Aye,
Curmudgeon.
Monty Curmudgeon Burns. Everyone feel free to add a C to your title on any correspondence. We'll guess what the C stands for. All right, my name is Desi and Monty. Good night.
Big Tams of the Gallowgate are proud to sponsor the E-Tims podcast for season 25-26. Do you like setting crazy bin fires in your own club? Are you sitting there reading your daddy's rants on command? If so, then get yourself down to Big Tams in the Gallowgate, where we have some asbestos gloves and some big boy pants for you to wear. Big Tams. We love helping billionaires' sons act the pure big hard man at AGMs.